Democrats, I don't think they understand that with an authoritarian personality in power, there is no safe haven. There's always a chance he's impulsive, he's emotional. I think he is unstable, that he will turn on anyone, any individual, any group, for any perceived disloyalty or, comment that he thinks is contrary to, himself or what he is pushing. So I think people need to really think hard, because this is, one thing I know for sure, if you vote for Kamala Harris, you will have the opportunity to disagree with her. You will have the opportunity to vote against her if she runs again. With Donald Trump, I'm not so sure about that, because one of his, wannabe role models is Orban in Hungary, and Orban did get elected and then proceeded to dismantle the institutions of democracy. So that's what people need to be worried about.
I will tell you something for free without charging you a single cent. What Hillary Clinton said there isn't a single lie in it, because as South Africans, we are living it. Trump has decided, you know what, I'm just going to turn South Africa into my project since he took that office, because he is not happy about a few things that are being done by our leaders in South Africa. So he decided, these people are going to be my project, and I'm going to infiltrate them through AFRIFORUM, DA. That's according to me, because the DA has a relationship with AFRIFORUM. So for me, that situation is a one thing. That's for me. And it's a revelation that I just got recently, since AFRIFORUM did what they did. I paid no mind on the relationship between AFRIFORUM and the Democratic Alliance. I judged the two situations differently. But the way things have been moving in South Africa, that situation is a one thing for me. And I don't like it. And we also have Elon Musk there, and the Republicans supporting whatever Trump is doing, and they are even pushing for this man to go for a third term. Fortunately, unless he can push it anyway, according to the constitution there, he's not allowed to run for a third term. He's not allowed. Anyway, but anything is possible. We live in strange times. So what I'm going to bring to you is how the whole situation is turning against Zelenskyy. What is happening to us is now happening to Zelenskyy. I looked at this, I was like, some of this stuff, I witnessed it in real time, and I know what transpired. Why are we here now? Why are we here? And the person that is even different, who's still sticking to what he's been saying over so many years, who's not changing his story, is President Vladimir Putin. He's not changing his story. Whatever they are fighting about between Ukraine and Russia, he's still sticking to the same thing. So that gives me an impression of a man who never lies. But before we enter into what is happening, guys, I was shocked. I was like, this part, we witnessed it. We know this very well. Right? I'm just going to give you a bit of a background in that Russia-Ukraine war. I'm just going to give that background so that we all understand when I say I don't know how we're getting here now to the things that Trump is saying. It gives the energy that is giving South Africa, propaganda being pushed against South Africa, and they're saying things like, we wake up and be like, no, they ain't talking about South Africa, because there is no such a thing that is happening here. So now here we go. But okay, let us read the background of that Russia-Ukraine war. Let us read, guys. Let us read this background so that we cannot be twisted here. People changing things in real time right on our watch. Hey, the Russia-Ukraine war began in February 2014 following Ukraine's revolution of dignity. Russia occupied and annexed Crimea from Ukraine and supported the pro-Russian separatists fighting the Ukraine military in the Donbas war. The first 8 years of conflict also included naval incidents and cyber warfare. In February 2022, Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine. We witnessed this, guys. We witnessed it. We saw it with our own eyes. Hence, I'm wondering, why is this whole thing being changed right on our watch? And began occupying more of the country, starting the biggest conflict in Europe since World War II. The war has resulted in a refugee crisis and tens of thousands of lives being lost. In early 2014, the Euromaidan protest led to the Revolution of Dignity and the ousting of Ukraine's pro-Russian president Viktor Yanukovych. I think that is worth noting because that might be the part of the problems that we see today. Shortly after pro-Russian unrest erupted in eastern and southern Ukraine, while unmarked Russian troops occupied Crimea, Russia soon annexed Crimea, guys, after a highly disputed referendum. In April 2014, Russia-backed militants seized towns in Ukraine's eastern Donbas region and proclaimed the Donetsk People's Republic (DPR) and the Luhansk People's Republic (LPR) as independent states, starting the Donbas War. Russia covertly supported the separatists with its own troops, tanks and artillery, preventing Ukraine from fully retaking the territory. So guys. In February 2015, Russia and Ukraine signed agreements, but they were never fully implemented in the years that followed. The Donbas War settled into violence, but static conflict between Ukraine and the Russian and separatist forces, with many brief ceasefires but not lasting peace and few changes in territorial control. Nobody's gonna help these people. When you read these things, no peace will be found between Ukraine and Russia. Like this. Beginning in 2021, there was a massive Russian military build-up near Ukraine's border. This one we saw, guys, including within neighbors Belarus. Russian officials repeatedly denied plans to attack Ukraine, and these were watching in real time. That time we were watching this. This is not the history that we are disconnected from, all of us. And if that time we were like 15 and up, you remember this very well. Russian President Vladimir Putin expressed horrendous views and denied Ukraine's right to exist. You cannot make this up, guys. He demanded that Ukraine be barred from ever joining the NATO military alliance. I'll tell you what, this part is where I'm saying President Putin is maintaining the same truth, that I don't want to see Ukraine being part of NATO. I think there's something that is threatening for Russia with Ukraine being part of NATO. And I think there were agreements that were signed long time ago that Ukraine will never be part of NATO. And now NATO is trying to change that, or maybe Ukraine is wanting to join the NATO, and that's where Russia is unhappy. That's where the bone of contention is. So, but Putin has been very consistent with this, that I don't want to see Ukraine in NATO. We are, guys. In early 2022, Russia recognized the DPR and LPR as independent states. So this, according to me, it looks like Putin enjoys a weaker Ukraine. On 24 February 2022, Putin announced a special military operation to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, claiming Russia had no plans to occupy the country. The Russian invasion that followed was internationally condemned. Many countries imposed sanctions against Russia and sent humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine. In the face of fierce resistance, Russia abandoned an attempt to take Kyiv in early April. This I remember very well. In August, Ukrainian forces began recapturing territories in the northeast and south. In late September, Russia declared the annexation of 4 partially occupied provinces, which was internationally condemned. From then through 2023, Russian offensives and Ukrainian counter-offensives gained only small amounts of territory. The invasion has also led to attacks in Russia by Ukrainian and Ukrainian-backed forces, among them a cross-border offensive into Russia's Kyiv Oblast In August 2024, Russia has repeatedly carried out deliberate and indiscriminate attacks on civilians far from the front line. Guys, the International Criminal Court ICC opened an investigation into war crimes and issued, very important, arrest warrants for Putin and several other Russian officials. Guys, a whole arrest warrant is out there for Putin, and nobody. This make ICC look very weak. They can be issuing these warrants of arrest and be doing that and be doing that. Fruitless exercise, if you ask me, because Putin is still there. He is not bothered for anything. He's not bothered. I am not saying he must go to prison, but that is what ISIS did that they never followed up on. I don't know what they are fighting about and all of that. Sorry, but I know that what Trump is saying is not true. I know because I saw part of what is happening in Russia in real time. Number two, I know what Trump is doing to South Africa. Hey, I know, but then again, let us continue, guys.
Это делали, но я вообще, честно говоря, удивляюсь на сдержанности вновь избранного президента Соединенных Штатов Трампа в отношении своих союзников, которые вели себя подобным, прямо скажем, хамским образом. Он еще достаточно интеллигентно себя ведет в их отношениях. Но они не закрываются от этого. Ведь если мы говорим о украинском урегулировании, Соединенные Штаты работают со своими европейскими союзниками. Господин Келлог, насколько мне известно, сейчас в Киеве находится, да? До этого он встречался с европейцами. Теперь президент Франции собирается в Вашингтон.
He is fighting. If you did not understand what he's saying, he is definitely fighting. So the person who shared that video also shared this caption. Putin says Trump must go harder on Europe and Ukraine must move faster. He promised 24 hours. Won't meet with Trump until Trump is ready for serious results. The cause of the war is NATO. Putin, I am surprised by Trump's restraint towards allies who behaved rudely. That was Putin's words. Yeah, guys. Yeah, KAYBEE. That's why I'm saying, that's why I've been saying that Putin is not moved. He's sticking to one thing, that, the cause of this whole thing is NATO. We don't want Ukraine to be part of NATO. That's it. And they must get this thing in order. Cha. And I think this is what caused Trump to be unhinged. He posted and said, think of it, a modestly successful comedian, I'm not going to be reading that word, guys, it's complicated for me, Zelenskyy, talked the United States of America into spending $350 billion to go into a war that couldn't be won, that never had to start, but a war that he, without the US and Trump, will never be able to settle. The United States has spent $200 billion more than Europe, and Europe's more money is guaranteed, while the United States will get nothing back. Why didn't Sleepy Joe Biden demand equalization? In that this war is far more important to Europe than it is to us. We have a big, beautiful ocean as separation. On top of this, Zelenskyy admits that half of the money we send him is missing. He refuses to have elections. Is very low in Ukraine polls. And the only thing he was good at was playing Biden like a fiddle. Trump can talk. A dictator without elections. Zelenskyy better move fast or he is not going to have a country left. In the meantime, we are successfully negotiating an end of the war with Russia, something all admit only Trump and the Trump administration can do. Biden never tried. Europe has failed to bring peace, and Zelenskyy probably wants to keep the gravy train going. I love Ukraine, but Zelenskyy has done a terrible job. His country is shattered and millions have unnecessarily lost their lives. And so it continues. Is he successfully negotiating? Is the most important one. Is Zelensky's rating very low?
He says that Zelenskyy has a 4% approval rating. The numbers that we have seen are more in the 50% range, north of 50% range. And he's criticizing Zelenskyy for not holding elections. Now, clearly, this is something that Russia would like to see happen because they would love to get a Yanukovych or somebody who, is much more favorable to Russia into that seat. Is the president undermining the election process? And can an election take place in the middle of this war at all, General?
Well, a couple of things. Yeah, Zelensky's polling as of February this month is 57% favorable. It was 52 in December. I mean, it was in the 90s in 22 when the war started. But obviously, he got very favorable ratings. Look at the constitution that Ukraine has prohibits elections when you declare martial law because of a state of war takes place. And obviously, the incumbent who is trying to run a war to be involved in an election and bringing people together in primaries and other elections puts the people at risk. There's two other parts of that martial law. If you're 18 to 60 years of age and a male, you can't leave the country. And also they're curbing civil liberties, particularly freedom of movement by curfews in the contested areas. So the fact that their constitution is driving this, the parliament, bipartisan support for all the extensions they've had to the martial law. So they are acting democratically, in my judgment, in abiding by their constitution, and also the parliament is supporting it, which represents the people throughout the country. These are democratic actions taking place in a democratic country. I don't believe we should try and push elections on Zelenskyy during the middle of this war. I think if there is a peace agreement, I think Zelenskyy and others and the people themselves will demand an election, and it would likely take place assuming the peace agreement has some real legs to it.
Okay. The first feature of a dictator is he's not elected. So Zelensky's not elected. He's banned a religious denomination. He's murdered his political opponents. He has banned a language group. Those all seem like features of dictatorship to me. Now, he has the support of the British intelligence agencies. That doesn't mean he's not a dictator, though. That sounds like a dictator. I mean, if I just gave you a piece of paper and I'm like, here are some qualities of a European leader, you would say, well, that guy, that's not legitimate. That guy's a dictator. I can't support that. But his name's Zelenskyy, and he was once a comedian, and he does my show, so he's not a dictator. I think it's a dictator.
First, that maybe there is something at the table, but not on our table. So I didn't see any invitations, envoys, and etc. from Ukraine to meet with some other envoys. But anyway, envoy, this is the national. I mean, this is security advisor, and so we don't have any papers, any invitations, and it's something strange for me to speak in this case, in this format, if before we don't have any negotiation between us and our strategic partners. As I remember, Russia is not our strategic partner. And about...
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating, and where a country has been blown to smithereens. You got most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site. The whole, I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely decimated. And yeah, I would say that, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election? That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also.
And do you remember when we were reading the background of that war between Russia and Ukraine? There is a president that was mentioned there that he was pro-Russia and he was taken out by the people of Ukraine. So now that Russia is calling for the elections in Ukraine, can it be that maybe they have somebody that is pro-Russia that they can put into power in there? And that is one. And suddenly now America is pushing, as you heard that guy, I don't know his name, and you heard Trump as well starting to speak against Zelenskyy, that he's a dictator, he's a man that was not elected. And yet they know very well that in a country that has war, it's risky to have elections. And according to the constitution of Ukraine, they are not supposed to have elections while they are in the middle of a war. So there's this mere campaign that I've been talking about, that I'm seeing the same thing that is happening to Ukraine and Zelenskyy that was happening to us, that is still happening to South Africans. So I think they thrive with smear campaign when they have targeted you for certain reasons. But you are here now. We are here now. I am not by any means saying Zelenskyy is a saint, but what I'm saying is us as ordinary people looking on and what is happening the other side, we must verify our own facts and see for ourselves what exactly is going on. So I am thinking to myself, you know, they're trying all by all means to say, now they're saying he started the war. Maybe he meant the European Union. But you heard that video clip when Zelenskyy said they were not invited. So what Zelenskyy rejected is the peace talk that didn't involve him as the leader of Ukraine. You cannot be talking about another president's business without that person, that president, and you take decisions without that president being there. So even I, Smolanyana, somebody where I am, I would reject it with both my feet. Aye, guys, you know what is said about war is that the people that are pushing war, they always survive. Putin is alive. Also, what is this guy? Trump is alive. Though he's calling for peace. I'm just going to talk about the two people that are directly involved. Putin is alive and Zelenskyy is alive. And many ordinary people have lost their lives. Families dismantled, people displaced. Just the whole thing that is so not good. But anyway, guys, we are here now. If you watched out here, no, you really, really, really love me. Thank you for watching this far. I just wanted to bring that to your attention. Do have a lovely day further.